What's up, Internet? Alright, I got this game that just came in through the door and I gotta test it out. And it's something I'm super excited about owning, because I've wanted it for quite a while. So while I test it, I figured I'd just bring you along for the adventure. Just gotta get through these settings, because my Saturn doesn't save. Oh, love that logo. And this game is one of the more trademark Sega Saturn games. This is Panzer Dragoon, a game I haven't played for quite a long time. So let's get into this. Skip episode 1. The first thing you should note is that the soundtrack is freaking gorgeous. In fact, I have like the worst memory ever, but while I misremember a lot of things about games, there are 3 games where, while I might forget some things about them, the opening tunes just stick with me forever, and I could hum them even years after playing it without remembering anything else. It'd be this song from Panzer Dragoon, just because of how gorgeous it is. The other would be the highway stage from Mega Man X, which, when I was a kid, I never actually beat. And once I finally did beat it, many, many years after it came out, I remembered it being a lot longer than it was. The other opening song that I could never forget was The Amazing Water, which was the theme for Splash Garden from Nights into Dreams, another Saturn game. Anyway, Panzer Dragoon, it's a 3D rail shooter where you're on a flippin' dragon, which is pretty awesome on its own. But what's really cool about this is you actually have 360-degree view around your dragon, like this. Now, it's a little more binary than it is fully controllable, as the shoulder buttons basically just rotate the camera 90 degrees, and you can kind of finagle your aim around to get the other few angles in between. But it's definitely interesting. Not a lot of games gave you that much control over your view. Stuff like Star Fox 64 certainly didn't. It basically just dropped a bunch of stuff in front of you and you were asked to shoot it. God, I love this soundtrack. Another really cool thing is this game has 2 weapons. You've got your rider who has a laser gun which fires rapidly like that, and then you've got your dragon's breath attack, which you can see it charging up a little bit if it zooms into his face, but it's not. But that's useful for taking other things out, but it takes a few seconds to charge up. God, this still looks good today. This was the second game in this series. Despite being the first one released, chronologically, the second game actually took place before this game. And I haven't played it. This is the only one I'm aware of. And I only actually got to rent this once when I was a kid. And now we get to fly in the flooded White House. I remember this bit. But I only rented this once as a kid because the Saturn only lasted for like 2 months. And I didn't get an N64 until like way after the Saturn, so I wasn't terribly lucky. But on top of that, the one rental store near my house only stocked like 5 Saturn games. And I've got stories about a few of those, so maybe I'll tell them later. But there was another rental shop. It was a lot farther away, and it rented only games. And I remember that being the coolest place ever, because it had a ton of really rare games that I'd never seen before. And I rented them when I was a kid, but I never remembered what they were. And to this day, I'm still trying to figure out what some of them were. But it had Panzer Dragoon, but because my family never had a ton of money, I couldn't rent a ton of games or anything. And it was a lot further away, so renting it wasn't a terribly viable thing. You also had to consider that, again, the Saturn lasted like 2 months. So there wasn't a huge time when it was in production. I think that rental shop's now a paint shop, and that makes me sad. It was super cool, because it was just walls and walls of games, and like standees and stuff. I remember they had like this really cool Mortal Kombat Goro standee, like standing right across the aisle from, I think it was Fulgore from Killer Instinct. It was another standee, and it looked like they were fighting. That was really cool. But they had just so many super obscure games that I just spent years looking for, including Illusion of Gaia. That was one of the more notable ones that I didn't know what it was until many, many years later. I don't think you can. No, you can. It's almost fast just to laser this guy. But yeah, Panzer Dragoon, great game. Pretty expensive. I know the American version is, or at least the Saturn version is. You can get this on the PC as well, which is actually pretty affordable. Oh, you can shoot the little guys off, but then you get hit by the missile. The Japanese version is exponentially cheaper. Like, searching eBay, you can find the Japanese version for like $10, $15, whereas the American version usually sits in the vicinity of $80 to $100. Sometimes you can find it at $40. Not usually, though. I actually managed to get this for $20, which is pretty good. Unfortunately, it did not come in the standard Saturn long box. It actually is in a basic CD case, and someone actually hacked the manual up in half so it would fit and look like the actual cover. That's a little sad, but Panzer Dragoon for $20, that's definitely a steal. I believe this was also an unlockable in the Xbox One, Panzer Dragoon Orta, and I almost wanted to get that, but as I understand, because of the 360 shitty emulation, the Panzer Dragoon bit will not unlock. Also, level 2 just starts you right off facing this giant monstrosity. That's really badass. That's how you start off a level on the right foot. You just throw them into the action. But, yeah, Panzer Dragoon, not terribly inexpensive game to find. I know that the third one on the Saturn costs several $100s usually, and it's an RPG that I'll probably never get to play because my Saturn does not save, as evidenced by the fact that I have to reset the settings and date to the proper year every time I want to turn on. But I think the fact that I now own Panzer Dragoon makes up for having to play Robotica, because now I have 4 Saturn games. Just a fun little personal story, but when I was a kid, about maybe 18 years ago or whatever, I wrote up a list of games I wanted to own, and it was like just a crumpled piece of lined paper, like you'd pull out any notebook, and I just wrote a bunch of game names. I think there was like 40 or so on there that I really wanted to have, and I've been slowly trying to whittle it down over the years, and since then my list has grown. I've integrated it with like my GameFAQs account, just because they've got like their own library of, you can monitor your own game lists and stuff. So my list on there is now like, I think like 50 titles, and then I've got a second list of games that I'm just kind of intrigued about that I haven't done too much research into, and there's, I shit you not, like 500 different titles on there. But on the original paper list that is sitting on a corkboard to my right now, as soon as I cross this off, there will be only 2 more titles I don't have on it. And I kind of already own one because it was in an HD re-release that I picked up a few years ago. But unfortunately, it's kind of a neutered version of what it should be. That said, if I can get that other game that I'm missing, I will say that I've completed my list, even though I technically haven't. But it's pretty cool to say I finally own a copy of Panzer Dragoon. Although, I think when I was a kid, the one time I rented it for like the 1 week I did, I think I only beat the second level once. This game's, from what I remember, pretty tough. and I'm way out of practice. I mean, there's only 2 Saturn games I can play with my eyes closed. And one is because I, at one point, more or less held world records in it, and the other, with the exception of 2 levels that are entirely hit or miss, whether or not you'll succeed, it's not a terribly hard game. Although it is a great game. And I'm definitely going to have to do a review of that someday. But that's another game I really want to hold off on doing because I don't think I'm anywhere near good enough yet. And for the games that really matter to me, I want to make sure I do them right. I mean, stuff like Steambot Chronicles and Gotcha Force were really hard for me. Like, Steambot Chronicles, I just sort of had to wing it because I was still getting used to my video editing software, Movie Maker, which is the biggest piece of shit in the world, but it's in my price range of nothing. Even though it likes to erase my clips in between sessions, so I basically have to do it in one shot. But yeah, stuff like Steambot Chronicles was really hard for me. And Gotcha Force, the one, this was a cool boss. I don't think I'm going to survive though. That one cut at the beginning where oh yeah, it's the black dragon I'm hunting down. Whoa! Shit. Yeah, I'll give it one more go. I think I've got an extra credit. Yes, I will continue. That one cut at the beginning where it was Sho versus Ko fighting, and it just sort of intros. And then I, like, jump cut straight to, like, the opening of the actual, like, intro to the game. I scrutinized that single cut for about 4 hours. And I'm not even joking. Like, I brought in other people just to, like, judge that cut to make sure it was good because I just wanted to make sure that that was the best review I could possibly make. Because that game means so much to me. As does this one. I don't think I'd rate it as highly as something like Gotcha Force, but Panzer Dragoon is a really cool game. Now, I think that everyone who's played it says that the second game is much better, but again, I've never played it, so I can't comment on that yet. But maybe someday. I just know that I played this. It was back on my original Saturn before it was stolen. It was actually featured on the box along with a bunch of other games. I think it was like the final boss that was actually featured, which was kind of weird. But it was also a small clip of it was on the Sega Saturn sampler disc, if memory serves. And I remember watching that sampler so many times. Like, there were so many games on there that I wanted to play that I still hadn't. There was the original Tomb Raider. I hadn't played that. Mr. Bones, which I hear is not that great. I kind of wanted to play that. Clockwork Knight, I loved playing that demo over and over, though I never played the full thing. There was another Saturn game that was at that game rental shop that was on that Saturn sampler disc, which name escapes me. I think it was called like Mysteria or like Dark Messenger or something, if that's ringing any bells for anyone. That's a game I've been trying to get my hands on for the longest time as well, but again, my Saturn can't save, so I probably can't play it because I don't think it uses passwords. Still, this is one of the more important Saturn games I've been trying to get my hands on for the longest time. So I'm glad I got this, especially for $20, because I don't think I could afford much more than that. This is just as gorgeous as I remember it. Yeah. And I think it's becoming increasingly apparent that I've got strapped while doing this. But I don't care, I'm gonna talk. I'll just be slightly more obnoxious to listen to than before. I get to fly around with my super cool dragon. Number of lock-ons. I feel like I'm in like a Robotech game or something. Ooh, I need to review the Robotech game I've got. Because that game was good for all the shit it gets. I love the grand, just sort of sweeping landscapes this game's got. I remember the opening really well to this game too. Like I skipped it just for the sake of everyone else's sanity to like the two people who actually watched this video, but it was really cool because it was like this guy whose friends get killed by like this little scorpion, so he chases after it, finds it in like this crashed spaceship, and then this giant robot tries to attack him. Then he gets blocked in, and then these two dragons show up and just start wrecking shop. It was a really cool opening. And there is the other dragon. And that's the entire point of this game, is you're trying to stop that dragon from getting to a tower, because apparently it can, like, I think merge with the tower or something to become like the ultimate god of destruction or something. I don't know, I never got past the 3rd level when I was a kid. But I can now because I own this freaking game. And I'm proud to say that because it's a great game. Ooh, that's another game I gotta get my hands on, is Guardian Heroes. Which, if you haven't played that, that's a great beat 'em up. And you can get it on like the Xbox 360 for like, I think it's like $2. It's just got like a massive price reduction. That game is fantastic. Although they, for the HD version, they really screwed up like the intro cutscene because it got it like letterboxed. And I really shouldn't be the one to complain about letterboxing because I barely understand resolutions myself, as evidenced by my videos, but I'm trying my best. I am not a video producer by trade. I mean, all my education is basically how to design video games. Which is why I figured talking about video games on the internet might actually work for me. Might be slightly more successful than, you know, having 8 years of your work destroyed by a flood, and no one from any game development firm ever hiring you because you don't have any, you know, demo stuff out for you. Because again, a flood destroyed it and you're still trying to recover assets from it. Oh well. I can't give up on that or this, because I don't see myself ever doing anything else other than analyzing and talking and building video games, because in case it hasn't come across yet, that's kind of my biggest passion in life, as dumb as it may sound. Because I think video games do have the potential to change lives and stuff. While I don't have any intention of changing anyone else's lives with my games, I'd certainly love to try. Hell, I just love to keep doing this. Talking about video games, it's something I've always loved doing. And that's the thing, it's like, I'm an incredibly quiet person. At most, I'll like say 10 words a day because I've got severe social anxiety and I just don't want to be around other people all that much. But if you get me on the topic of video games, I will talk forever. I don't think I can target those missiles. And that's level 2. He's much bigger than I am, but my dragon's far more stylish. And I think style points are what matter most. In dragon selection, anyway. Anyway, that was episode 2. I think I'm going to be done here. When I get better, maybe I'll try and do a full playthrough of this.